Kiri, which we had episode 2 of last night. This was an interesting one, because when we were talking about it last week, you said that it very much, the enjoyment of the series for you very much relied on the performance by Sarah Lancashire. And she was almost like the secondary focus of this of last night's episode.
That's right, definitely.
It mainly focused on the hunt for Kiri's father, Nathaniel. You learn more about the relationship between like Kiri's family in terms of like her grandparents and Nathaniel. Well, it's not her grandparents; it's her grandfather. I didn't realise that the Andy Osho character Rochelle was is like his second wife.
Yeah, that wasn't really ever kind of was something that was left out of episode 1 that I felt was a little bit silly to sort of not mention.
So the main focus was on Toby, the Lucian Masmati character, the grandfather.
Yeah.
And we also got some flashbacks to Kiri being with them on the day that she went missing, basically, and trying to fill in some of that timeline, which we got, didn't we, in National Treasure as well, Jack Thorne's show, where he took us back and showed you the relationships. Yeah, which I like, and do you like that as a sort of a plot device?
I do like it, yeah. I do. I think it does give you. I think unlike Next of Kin, it does keep you more on the edge of your seat if it kind of shows you little bits rather than much more. So.
And it was basically that Rochelle had encouraged Toby to let Nathaniel have a relationship with Kiri, but then they sort of absconded from the house, and next thing you know, like he doesn't turn up again, Nathaniel, and this is sort of Toby's search for him. Meanwhile, the foster parents, the would-be adoptive parents of Kiri, Alice and Jim, are appearing on Good Morning Britain with Ben Shepherd and Charlotte Hawkins.
Well, there was a bit of a name drop in this, because the next thing you mentioned, the next thing
Victoria
you got was,
Derbyshire.
Yeah, I know he did a little bit of that in National Treasure as well, but he likes to drop his media things in.
But that's, again, like we were saying about the press, and the press having a big presence, and at one point, so Toby does find his son eventually in a brothel, oddly, and there's a lot of history, apparently, with him and this brothel. And he goes to see Alice and Jim and says, you know, I've found him, I'm taking him to the police, and they talk about burying Kiri, and there's a line in there where they say, oh, should we call, like, the police PR officer because he's been telling us how to handle it? And again, it's like the media influence on this. You know, there's reporters on their doorstep, there's reporters on... If we talk about Miriam as well, you know, reporters on her doorstep and in her life, and the media influence on her, she's, again, as we said last week, being the scapegoat. She's getting punched in the middle of the streets or the middle of town centre by random people.
But a very enjoyable act, but especially by Sarah Lancashire. I know she only had a small part in this episode, but again, very good.
Well, it's about sort of her career crumbling around her. There's a great scene where she met up with a union representative who just basically told her to
was that
resign.
A union rep or was that a lawyer? I couldn't quite work out.
I thought it was a union. I think she had like a union lanyard on.
Oh, okay. Like, she talked. She talked about a legal rep background, so I suppose that makes more sense that she wasn't a lawyer.
I think she's like with Unison or something.
Like that. They didn't name it, as you say. So
no, but I think because they did mention the unions in the last episode, didn't they, and things like that. And
she waived her union rights, didn't she?
Yeah, but again, like Sarah Lancashire when she was in this was excellent. I loved. There's a couple of scenes. That scene was really good. The scene where they're on Good Morning Britain and you just see her reactions to it, and and she's amazing in that. And then the scene where she finally decides to say something to the reporters.
Right! No one wants me to talk to you because no one wants me to say it. What I did was right. Not by me or my bosses or Alice and Jim Warner, but by Kiri. I did the right thing by a little girl who deserved to know where she came from. Who deserved access to a home where people look like her, where she could see a future, everything she could grow up to be. Because you think they were going to show her that? Do you think anyone would have offered her anything other than kindness packaged in pale skin and straight hair, and Christmas in a church with a blue-eyed Jesus, and Christmas paper wrapping up a blue-eyed doll? I love my job. And loving what you do means doing it to the best of your ability always. And that is what I was trying to do for Kiri, a little girl being raised in a world where she is already considered other. And when you have a family who love a child and want to see a child and pass all compliance with our laws, you let them fucking see the child! Because why not?
Nathaniel basically says, no, it wasn't me. You know, she ran off while we were trying to bond, and the next thing I knew, you know, they told me she died, and I was the main suspect. And there's suggestions that Jim and Alice's son Cy might be responsible. The relationship between he and his foster sister may not have been as pure as the parents believed.
Yeah,
so
a nice drop.
That's sort of. It's sort of turning into more of a whodunit, isn't it now? Because there's that element of doubt in the story. So, and also, before I get your views on that, there's a nice little bit of plotting I liked was the fact that the Wunmi Musaku character, the police officer, the DI, she revealed that she'd been brought up in care as well, which was a nice sort of tie into the rest of the plot. That because Toby's like, you know, where do you come from, and you know, where are your parents from? And she said, I didn't know, I just grew up in care. So she's got that sort of correlation to sort of Kiri's circumstances, perhaps, and that's nice to tie her into the plot, because I always feel she's a bit sort of away from the rest of the characters in a way. She's sort of like not connected really, and this is sort of drawing her in a little bit to the plot, and it's interesting to see where they're going next. So did you enjoy this, despite the lack of Sarah Lancashire?
I did, and I felt that it was an improvement in the other character areas. I think actually, if you look back on this series as a whole, which we will do when we get past it, maybe they made the right decision in saying, right, let's go with a strong Sarah Lancashire-led episode, get you intrigued because lots of people know who she is, and then we'll kind of bring in these other character actors. I do think that the grandfather and the father's backstory was believable and quite the fight scene that they had was very personal and very
powerful,
dramatic. I quite liked it. I think the other thing that I know that last week there was lots of inaccuracies regarding social work. Again, I think this week there was a little bit of inaccuracies about police work. I don't really feel that if the grandfather comes in and says, I will deliver him to you, that the first thing they wouldn't do was surround the house. I don't see them even getting to the stage where they would let him, they would tail him straight from leaving the police station to where he was going. Yeah. So I did feel that
I agree with you there.
That was something, and arresting him at the home I didn't think was necessary. It didn't add anything. It felt like we need a dramatic scene to end the episode.
I agree with you there. And I like another scene that I didn't mention was when Toby goes to visit the mother of Kiri's mother, who sort of denied. She said it sort of shows you the history there, that they were asked to, the grandparents were, Toby and Rochelle were asked to look after Kiri, and they sort of declined it, and that's when she was put up for, into foster care and things like that.
I need to go to the funeral. I need you to tell that woman that.
We will not be welcome. We're the family of
We are not family.
No, I won't take that. Kiri made us family.
I lost my daughter.
You stopped your access. You stopped your visits. So don't stand there and tell me.
I watched Gaia fade away in front of me, begging me for money, stealing from me, smiling at me desperately with her teeth going grey. And then she dies. And they find this Kiri beside her. A girl I'd never even heard about. I tried to love her. But all I could see was my daughter. Not my granddaughter.
The thing about Kiri is it's all about, purporting blame onto someone. Who do we blame for this circumstance? How far can we trickle it back? Is it Toby's fault for being a bad father to Nate, and that's why he didn't take on Kiri, because he didn't want to make the same mistakes? I really like those. I think Lucia Masmati in this, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, I think it's Mamati. It's got a silent S, which throws me. But I think his performance in this was the top one for me. I think Sarah Lancashire owned that first episode, but he owned this episode, and she was more
I do think the foster mother is playing a good part. It's not necessarily a person you like, because she does seem to sort of, the whole line about I had her for a life, you had her for a week, you had her once a week, I had her every day, and if you're, she seems to be blaming anybody and everybody.
She's a good actress. Leah Williams is the actress. She was do you remember in The Missing? She was the butcher's wife who was in the army with them and.
Yeah, that didn't know about, and again, it's all going to come down to she didn't know about her husband's past, and it turns out that she might not know what was going on with her son. So, you know, you can kind of see why she's playing this part. But yeah, do you know what's strange is the husband, who's a very good actor,
Stephen McIntosh.
Nothing in him, absolutely nothing, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe we get a bit more because I feel like they're wasting him.
He's playing a bit of it. Well, I think I like his little, because he's sort of like the soft sort of beta male, the sort of middle class dad. But there's always those little moments where he goes to touch her and she butts him away.
And I do think that the Sarah Lancashire rant, as you say, in front of the media, was designed to keep that kind of social and racial element, in top of people's minds. So overall, a good episode. I was pleasantly surprised that even without Sarah Lancashire's big involvement, they were able to produce a really good episode. And I quite like the fact that you've got a touch of the whodunits as well. I didn't want to believe that.
that sounds like a side effect of Luke's Australian flu.
Well,
touch of the whodunits.
Touch of the whodunits. I like the fact that you pivoted away from what could potentially have been a very nasty, situation where a father could have killed a daughter, to an equally nasty. The scene that I think got me the most was when the police liaison officer, the lady you mentioned, was interviewing the step parent, the foster parents, and she was saying, like, we've checked paedophiles in the area, and we just want to know what your movements are and things like that. And that was kind of like that to me was like, and it's where, as you said, this particularly good actress just almost like ignored her and turned around to her husband and went, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
I liked that. That is kind of realism to me.